the evolution of Joe Biden over the past, like, what is it, 25 years now? It reminds me of like the in Avatar: The Last Airbender, how Zuko starts off, right, as this like totally evil dude. But by the end of the third season, right, he's like teamed up with the Avatar and they're saving the world.
Biden is Zuko.
Or we are Uncle Iroh. I call Uncle Iroh,
We're
and
Uncle Iroh. What's good? I'm Drake.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Nikayla.
Today we're gonna be getting into Joe Biden's climate plan, getting the nuts and bolts of it, see if it meets our standards for a Green New Deal.
Nothing gives me more hope for the future than seeing my 5
It's our
grandchildren
boy.
challenge expectations. But the only way they're going to get a chance to fulfill all that potential is if we take drastic action right now to address the climate disaster facing the nation and our world. More severe storms and droughts, rising sea levels, warming temperatures, shrinking snow cover and ice sheets. It's already happening.
Wow. Now I'm literally watching it like, wow, that's actually a really good ad.
In 2016, like climate change, they were talking about like 50, 100 years out, maybe some point in the future we'll have to deal with this. But like the way Joe
Facts.
Biden is talking right now, he understands that climate change is today.
So last summer we put out a scorecard of how candidates stacked up against our own vision for a Green New Deal, and Joe Biden got an F minus. That fall we officially endorsed Bernie Sanders, and we had the most ambitious climate plan, most in line with our vision of a Green New Deal in Bernie Sanders, and well, we know how that went. And typical election wisdom will tell you that once Biden won the primary, he no longer bothered trying to win over left-wing voters, aka us. But this movement is powerful.
We went from Joe Biden running away from us in the rain to Joe Biden inviting our movement to sit on his task force to advise him on climate change.
Once we had varsity and that task force arguing for us at the table, we saw major wins kept coming up. Like, instead of 80% clean energy by 2050, it was 100% clean energy by 2035. Instead of 1.7 trillion over 10 years, it was 2 trillion over 4 years. And this is special, a commitment to put 40% of investments into frontline and marginalized communities for that spending.
Science tells us that how we act or fail to act in the next 12 years will determine the very livability of our planet. Yet today, President Trump denies the evidence in front of his own eyes, hides climate science produced by his own administration, and actively works to roll back what progress we've already made.
Trump literally erased every single mention of climate change from the government websites. Like, they cleaned house with climate.
So today, I'm announcing my plan for a clean energy revolution. It outlines what we have to do to meet this challenge head on and how we're going to get there. This initiative will create more than 10 million new good-paying jobs all across the clean economy in the United States of America.
I mean, he's
Straight
kind of
up.
just reciting like talking points of the Sunrise Movement. Like these are the words that we created as a movement that are now coming out of Joe Biden's mouth. And the fact that we did that in a year, like imagine what we could do in 4.
These investments are a win-win-win for this country, creating jobs, cutting energy costs, protecting our climate.
He said win, 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 and how for so long Democrats were like, we aren't going to fight that battle because we'll probably lose. And how Sunrise Movement said, we're going to fight that battle because we gotta. And I think we give politicians like Joe some courage.
They have for sure watched Sunrise videos. When they see us in the streets, when they see us taking down their colleagues, Elliot Engel, Lacey Clay, Joe Crowley, when they see us in the streets, they realize, oh, I need to move or it's my job.
It's an enormous opportunity. We'll hold polluters accountable for the damage they've caused, particularly in low-income communities and communities of color. Not only due to climate change, but the pollution they are pumping into the air that is breathed and the water that is drunk in those communities.
It is literally the Twilight Zone. Seeing the man who wrote the crime bill talk about environmental justice and how it's compounded by racial inequalities and how he's going to fight to liberate the people of Cancer Alley down in Louisiana. Are you kidding me?
Yo, but I'm also thinking about, from the debate, he talked about when his mom would get in the car on those cold days and the windshield would wipe off the screen, how there'd be that slick of oil. And I'm thinking about how so many young people go into politics with big dreams and then they're alone without a movement and those dreams are crushed and they wear their suits and ties and fall into the rhythms of lobbyists and big meetings and they forget what they care about. And I'm thinking about how the power of a movement is not just about electing our champions, but it's showing every politician, damn, that they can fight for those things that they knew they had to fight for back when they were kids. Shit. And so when you guys say that stuff, you're helping a guy like Joe remember, oh yeah, I gotta take off this tie, I gotta take off this suit, I gotta remember back then when my mom got in the car and there was oil on the windshield.
Like, Washington is a machine. The political system in general is a machine. And they chew people up and they spit them out. I genuinely believe that people like Joe Biden, people like Obama, they come in with these big wild dreams of, hey, we're going to get real reform. We're going to go right back to my community in Scranton, right back to my community in Delaware, Chicago, and we're going to make a real difference. And then that machine just tears those dreams apart.
We're going to make a major investment to build 1.5 million new energy efficient homes and public housing units will benefit from communities, all the communities, 3 times over, by alleviating the affordable housing crisis, by increasing energy efficiency, and by reducing the racial wealth gap linked to home ownership.
This is literally like socialism, you know, the fact that the government is going to build affordable housing to decrease a wealth gap. I mean, that's exactly what it is. So he's trying to become like a populist, you know, like he really just wants us to approve of his work. And that's just like a testament to the power of our movement, that now he's like reciting our own points so that we'll stop hating on him. We'll stop coming after him. He's just trying to be a populist. They know climate is like a winning issue, and they take our words and they put it directly into Joe Biden's speech.
I think it's a little creepy, but it's also very encouraging.
We need to be mindful of the historical wrongs and the damage that American industries have done in the 20th century, inflicting environmental harm on the poor and vulnerable communities, so often Black and brown and Native American communities. This is an area of incredible opportunity for economic growth for our country, but we have to make sure that the first people who benefit from this are the people who were most basically hurt by it.
Oh, that's just Green New Deal 101 right there.
I'm setting a goal to make sure that these frontline and fence line communities, whether in rural places or center cities, receive 40% of the benefit from the investments we're making.
I cannot tell you how many people that speaks to. Joe Biden is making concrete, actionable steps and saying, this 40% of this plan is going to go straight into your community, straight into the people who've been marginalized for 400 years, from the lynchings to the chains, all the way down to the criminal justice system that he helped build. But he's saying enough of that. We're going to tear that system down and build something beautiful. I think my cousin Tori, when he looks at somebody like Joe Biden, he says, this is an old white dude, doesn't give a damn about me. But when he's saying, the politicians don't say this, and they don't give such detail, they don't give such genuine speaking from the heart, saying, this is for all of you. It's so beautiful to see someone who stood for oppression and the system change because of activism and just the voice of young people crying out. That's beautiful.
We're also going to create jobs for people by cleaning up the environmental hazards that have now been abandoned. More than 250,000 jobs right away to do things like plugging millions of abandoned oil and gas wells. We're going to hold accountable those CEOs and corporations that benefit from decades of subsidies, then just walked away from their responsibilities to these communities, leaving the wells to leak.
I'm just struck because for so often it was like, okay, let's let these guys off the hook. Okay, fine, we're not going to do fossil fuels. They'll make their money some other way. He's talking about justice, which means you hurt someone, well, you're going to have to find some way to give back. And that is actually new for me. Drake, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking of '09, when these Wall Street execs crashed the economy, effed over millions of people and their finances. People were sleeping out in the cold because of Goldman Sachs, because of Lehman Brothers. People blocks from me. All those fat cats. And Obama and Biden gave them a little slap on the wrist, and none of them served jail time. Meanwhile, millions of black and brown people rotting in prison because of drug crimes. Now, things have changed, and we wonder why. It's a beautiful sunrise, man.
With a clean energy strategy, I am not banning fracking.
So I've heard a lot of young people basically saying how Joe Biden's climate plan doesn't go far enough because it doesn't ban fracking. And I totally agree with that. The only way that we're truly going to combat the climate crisis is if we tackle all forms of fossil fuel emissions. And fracking is a really, really big part of that. Joe Biden has committed to ending fossil fuel leases on all public land. That's a big win right there. But then that still leaves this question of, what about private land? We need to make it really, really hard and really, really expensive for these companies to frack. So right now we prop up these fracking companies with $20 billion of taxpayer money. This is how they stay afloat. They're not even profitable. We have to give them money so they can survive capitalism. One of the oldest environmental laws in the book, the Clean Air Act, could, in theory, ban fracking. It could regulate methane emissions to the point where these companies can no longer frack in a way that complies with the regulations. That is how we end fracking, with going through the channels of power, kicking them off land, choking them out, and bankrupting them.
Some of his vision is like exactly what we've been fighting for, and some of it misses the mark. Our role right now is to make sure he follows through on his promises and keeps going to make sure that our vision of a Green New Deal actually happens.
The United States owns and maintains an enormous fleet of vehicles. And we're going to convert these government fleets to electric vehicles, with the government providing the demand and the grants to retool factories that are struggling to compete. The U.S. auto industry and its deep bench of suppliers will step up, expanding capacity so that the United States, not China, leads the world in clean vehicle production.
Also, real quick, we talk a lot about this already. Like, people act like green energy and the economy, saving the climate and the economy never go in hand. He literally just recited facts about how this is going to help the auto industry, how this is going to help the energy industry. So I don't want to hear another Fox News talking point about that ever again.
I just think about how I grew up in the Watertown wood shop, where people who's for generations work with their hands thought that they wouldn't have anything to get out of a Green New Deal, knowing that that was engineered by the Fox News, like, talking people and the fossil fuel executives who were, like, making money off that lie and dividing people off that lie. And that when we went in Speaker Pelosi's office, our big yellow banners say Green New Deal and say green jobs now. And that's the frame Biden is using, because that's the way we defend our homes and we get good jobs. It makes so much sense.
As president, I will lead America and the world, not only to confront the crisis in front of us, but to seize the opportunities it presents. I'll use every authority available to me to drive progress, and I will not accept half measures, because making these revolutionary changes is going to take an incredible commitment at all levels, but I am absolutely confident that's what the American people want to do.
Biden has come so far, and he has so much further to go. But I really believe with an effective movement, we can push him to the limits of our own imagination. FDR and LBJ, the people who passed the most progressive policy in our history, expanded rights not seen since Reconstruction. They did not go into office intending to do that. They were forced to do it by a powerful movement, and that's what we're going to do right now.
So if you're doubting the power of movements, look to MLK, look to Medgar Evers, look to civil rights champions who were organizing black and brown people by the millions, marching all throughout the South, on DC, in Selma, all across in the black churches. They were mobilized, they were organized, and they were demanding change. And you got a Civil Rights Act from a southern racist from Texas. 30 years earlier, the New Deal. FDR was a capitalist. This is one of the good old boys. And he came in coming on taxes. We're going to balance the budget. The labor unions had something to say about that. They organized by the millions and held him accountable. And we got a New Deal, and the Great Depression was averted. So it's on us to do that right now. The climate disaster, creating millions of clean energy jobs in a Green New Deal. And young people are here for it, the same way MLK was and the same way labor unions were in the 30s.
November 4th is day zero of a decade of a Green New Deal.
100% agree.
So after the polls close, we need to get in the street. We need to fight for our struggle. And I really believe that together we have the power to accomplish anything. That's all the time we have, but see you in the streets.
Yay,
see you in the struggle.
Guys.
See you in the streets.
Bye. Peace out.
Woo!